I'm Erin Lawler Patterson, the Goodness Chick. I'm an international speaker, life coach, author, and proud part of the Mental Health News Radio Network. Join me on the journey of empowering you to kick butt in life, not get kicked by life, addressing mental health, relationships, self-care, and giving back. So, do you enjoy listening to the Goodness Chick podcast? I hope you do. And if you're interested in assisting and contributing to our platform that gets the mission of Goodness Chick out there, podcast form, talking about mental health, wellness, and filling our cup, you can hop on patreon.com/goodnesschick and find out how through $5, $10, or $20 contributions monthly help in making this production possible. I want to thank you all for that. So today's pod talking about the coronavirus. It is pretty much virtually impossible. I can't imagine how, if you haven't heard about it at this point, and it's impacting people in a whole lot of different ways. So today's podcast is really focusing on 5 ways to become better people, to stand up when it comes to the negatives connected with the coronavirus. Now, hear me out. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not making any claims, but in the past few weeks, I've seen a whole lot of change, whether it be through different media, social media posts, how people are reacting, being in the supermarket, to Target, whatever it is. Comes to different elements and challenges in our society, we can either rise above or we can either choose to be part of the panic, the crazy, the pandemonium. And so this is an opportunity to have 5 ways to rise above the coronavirus that I think doesn't take a whole lot on our part, but can really go really, really far. So the first one comes down to hand washing, right? Hygiene seems common sense, but when it comes to what's going on in the world today, now more than ever, right? I've never had an issue with washing my hands, but putting the word out there, washing our hands, right? Whether it's after, you go to the bathroom, after, you've handled some groceries, you've been out and about. I know I have my hand spray with me. I wipe things down in my, in my kitchen, wherever I am, bathroom, throughout my house, in my car, yada, yada. But being vigilant at the supermarket, when you have the cart, a lot of times we can touch things without realizing that spreads. So being vigilant in our hygiene, absolutely super important. And going through this with, our younger generation, our kids, hey, making sure, boom, being thorough, not just splashing on a little bit of soap and hoping it magically air dries, but doing it in a thorough manner. Number 2, avoiding large crowds. So I've heard different people's responses to what's going on, and whether it be there those on the extreme where it's like, this is crazy, it's the end of the world, to, this is a hoax, whatever. So I'm not here to do any kind of debates, but what I'm saying is there is something very pressing going on in the world right now, and how we choose to react is really important. Part of that, as it's been advised and suggested and encouraged, is avoiding large crowds. So when it comes to being a collective in terms of humanity and thinking about other people, instead of going to that pub crawl this weekend, it's holding off on that. I'm going to say most states at this point, I think schools have been closed, or they're in the process of doing that. So if you've got, kids are home, which can be a challenge in itself for people. Okay, my kids are home, and I'm working. What am I supposed to do? It's also why the schools are closed. One of the reasons behind this is to self-contain this. So having our kids go to the mall all day, or using it kind of as a hashtag vacation day, hey, now we're going to go on vacation, is something I would say really to stay away from. Large crowds don't help anything in this situation. And it's kind of thinking it through, I'm not going to go to this concert. I'm not going to go to this. It's not ending, our social aspect of our lives as we know it. This is for a period of time, just being kind of aware, self-aware. And it's one of the things that's really had me think a whole lot about my personal decisions is, I'm 42 years old. I'm not in the high risk age bracket, but I live in a community. I have friends and family. And knowing that if I put myself in certain situations, it has it has the ability or potential to put somebody else in a compromising position, right, where they could be potentially in harm's way. And that's where we have the age bracket, people, the elderly. We have those who have compromised immune systems. To like, it's thinking about more than just us, thinking more about us, because our actions have a domino effect. So thinking when it comes to large crowds, yo, I'm going to stay away, for the time being. I think that's 2 thumbs up. And what goes hand in hand with this, with anything, again, not a doctor, but I will tell you emotionally and physically what are really, really beneficial to us at all times of the year, is fresh air. Getting outside when we are constantly I'll say in our homes constantly, put your head outside, sit out on your porch, whatever, whether it's 32 degrees or whether it's 80 degrees, fresh air and sunlight have an impact on our emotions, us physically. Boom, it has so many positives attached to it. So keeping that in mind. Number 3 is right now, where within your neighborhood, your community, small businesses are being impacted, right? You have people who might be, I'm eating out less, I'm not going out, or it's, I'm not going to go get that cup of coffee that I would normally stop and get once a week, or meeting up with people for coffee. Whatever it is, it's keeping small businesses in mind. Maybe it's doing, I'm ordering out, or I'm going to have, I know a lot of people within different communities, restaurants are saying, listen, if you order 30, 40, or $50 of food, we'll do a free delivery, keeping everything in mind with what's going on right now. Awesome. Our small businesses are very important to our communities. If you go to a farmer's market every week, and they've discontinued that, I know they've done that here, try to remember or find a way to get that person's number that maybe that supplies your lettuce, your tomatoes, your soap, or whatever it is. And maybe there's a way to connect, where it's still, we still need our food, and we still need different aspects of our life. And sometimes it's just kind of getting creative with that, or it's like, I'm not going to go meet up with somebody, but it's stopping at, a local restaurant that you've gone to. And if you have the funds to do so, purchasing a gift card that can be used, in a few months down the road. Whatever it is that can kind of continue to pull back into our community, because business, local business, small business, man, they're people within our town here. They are a part of us as a family community unit. And when things happen, whether it's a hurricane, it's a tornado, it's Corona, small businesses are impacted. And, if you've ever owned a business, it is some tough stuff. And things without that external factors that can't be prevented can do some heavy damage. So keeping small businesses in mind, my friends. Next one, number 4, check in on your neighbors. Whether if you have family, friends, people within your neighborhood that maybe are at risk depending on their age. If they've a low autoimmune system, it's going out is just something that's just not possible, or it puts me at risk at this point. Give them a call, shoot them a text. Hey, listen, I'm ordering some extra groceries, or I'm swinging by the grocery store to get groceries. Is there anything else I can pick up for you? Or listen, you know what? I made something, I have some extra stuff for dinner tonight. Can I leave it for you or drop it off? Getting creative and thinking about the people in our lives that sometimes are forgotten about when stuff hits the fan. Or I don't want to say aren't just maybe in the forefront of our minds. And as a community, within our neighborhoods, keeping those people in mind is really, really important, because for some, the next, really, we'll say few weeks or even maybe a few months, I have no idea, it could have them extremely isolated, and letting them know that we care about them, getting on the phone. Have they gotten a phone call during the day? A text, whatever. Human contact for all of us, and feeling valued, feeling connected, feeling that we exist in some cases, is something we all have within our being, our makeup, and keeping that in mind and in the forefront of things, especially as we go forward, if you will. Last one. So, I know for a lot of teachers and people in different fields, they're now home or wherever they are, and different people in different fields as the next, I don't know, I guess week or so goes on, there might be things changing. Well, this, unless it's super necessary, you're not going to work. But people within the medical field, law enforcement do not get any time off. So it's keeping them in your mind, whether, dropping them a gift card for coffee. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your service, thinking about you. Or, they're in your neighborhood. Hey, I'm going to drop some dinner off tonight, or if there's anything I can do in terms of kind of helping, with the craziness if they have, especially if they have kids at home now that so many people weren't expecting. So what do I'm working, and oh my gosh, daycare centers aren't open. It's a lot of stress for a lot of people. For those particularly in the medical and law enforcement field, it's a lot added on to this. So keeping these people who are part of our community, from law enforcement to medical field, to people that are running, our small mom and pop businesses and restaurants in our community, keeping them in mind. And what can we do instead of panicking, but pull together? And part of that is obviously not just thinking of ourselves. And when we, are going to a grocery store, going to Target, Walmart, wherever the heck it is, one of the things that really kind of I don't know, it just made me kind of disheartened, was like watching, when I was first out and about, like people bugging out over, like, I need 12, packs of toilet paper, and I need enough of this for a year, and I need it. And it was me, 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 me. And it's what, are you thinking about the other people that are around you, that especially people who are older or disabled or really struggle getting out? Are we thinking about them? Are they getting kind of the end of it, at the end of things? And that's not fair. Whether it be milk, whether it be pasta, it's taking in mind, what do I really need, and conveying that message to really people around us. Panic ensues panic. It does nothing good. Common sense, and doing things where we're thinking about other people, keeping them in the forefront of our minds, asking how the people around us are doing, and what we could do to rise above. What we can do to rise above situations right now that are really, in a lot of senses, kind of out of our hands. Different decisions that are being made with, different flights that are massively being affected, people with their vacations, people with work. Life can kind of seem a little bit uprooted right now. What are we going to do to advocate for ourselves, to make the world a better place, and kind of bring in some elements of stability? And when it comes to these 5 things that I just talked about, absolutely will help with our emotional, our physical, our outlook. And that's where it starts. So from basic hygiene to avoiding large crowds, supporting local business, checking in with friends and neighbors who are kind of, we'll say, in that high risk category. And lastly, keeping an eye and putting ourselves out there for those who are in some intense occupations right now in the medical and field and law enforcement. 5 of those things that if we kind of focus on a bit, and I'll say this, it's a time in a kind of crazy train world to use this as an opportunity to slow down a little bit, disconnect, play a board game, read some books, connect in terms of communicating with some peeps in our family. Maybe we just haven't in a while, because life can be crazy train sometimes. It's not a negative thing to go back a little bit in terms of, let's throw back and just be less busy, less online, less whatever it is, and more connected. It goes far. And when we kind of distance ourselves from panic mode to just people, humanity mode, boom, amazing things happen. So I'm sending you my vibes, my positivity, my friends, and taking this time, even in the crazy train, to make it intentional in filling our cup. It's important. Wishing you an abundance of peace, love, and goodness.